Good afternoon, dear students. Previous class, we started to discuss about the Delhi Sultans. The Delhi Sultans. So we came to know that. So in the beginning, the Delhi it was under the control of Tomaras. I mean, the first actually, the Delhi became the capital of a kingdom of the Rajput dynasties. Then afterwards, the early Turkish rulers and Khalji dynasty and Tughlaq dynasty and as well as Sun, Sayyid and Lodi dynasties, they were ruled our subcontinent, especially the Delhi. Now let us discuss about some of the sources about this. I mean, finding out about the Delhi Sultans. How can we know? How can we get the information? See, dear students, including inscriptions, coins, and architecture. So, these inscriptions, coins, and architecture provide a lot of information about the Delhi Sultans, especially inscriptions, coins, and inscriptions, coins, and architecture. See, these are provide a lot of information. So, especially valuable or stories. Valuable or stories. Tariq is actually the Persian word Tariq. It's called Tariq. So, it is in singular form. Tariq or used to pronounce as Tariq or Tariq. Okay. So it is in singular form. And Tawariq. Tawariq. So it is in plural. Got it? See, the Tariq or Tawariq. Tariq means that is the singular and Tawariq means that is the plural. So written in Persian, the language of administration under the Delhi Sultan. So these words are actually from Persian. So Persian is a language of administration. It is the administrative language under the Delhi Sultans. Got it now? So Persian, it is actually the administration language of the Delhi Sultans. See, the authors of Tawariq, they were learned men secretaries. They were learned men secretaries. They were scholars. They were educated. They are experts. So these were the Tawariks were learned men secretaries, administrators, poets, and courtiers. So, who both recounted events and advised rulers, especially on governance, emphasizing the importance of just rule. Keeping the following additions details in mind. So, the authors of Tawariq lived in cities especially they were lived in Delhi and hardly ever in villages. So the most of the Tawariq authors understood, authors of Tawariq, those were composed, those were written. So the most of the authors of Tawariq were learned men, secretaries or administrators, poets and courtiers. Understood now? So most of these authors of Tawariq lived in cities, especially Delhi, and very rarely ever in villages, hardly ever in villages, only a few. They often wrote their stories for sultans in the hope of rich awards or rewards. See, this is what the culture, since we are observing in the beginning. The scholars, the courtiers, or whoever it may be in the kingdom, king's court, they were used to wrote some of the things they were composed for sultans, maybe praising, maybe about their the so many they were glorified their kings and they were praised them and their achieves, their contribution and their victories, all those. So why they were composed now? So they hope if they composed, they were they could get rich rewards from the kings. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ರಾಜನಿಂದ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಕಾಣಿಕೆಗಳು ರಿವಾರ್ಡ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಅವರು ಇವುಗಳನ್ನು ಕಂಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. See, these authors advised rulers on the need to preserve an ideal social order based on birth rate and gender distinctions. So these authors are advised rulers. They are advised rulers. ಸೊ ರಾಜನಿಗೆ ರಾಜ ಪುರೋಹಿತ ಅಂತ ಇರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಮಕ್ಕಳ. ಸೊ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಅಡ್ವೈಸ್, they used to guide the same way. So these the authors of Tawariq, they were advised rulers on the need to preserve what they were advised, needed to preserve an ideal social order, an ideal social order based on birth rate and gender distinctions. So their ideas were not shared by everybody. So the authors of Tawariq, so their ideas were not shared by everybody. What is this birth rate and gender distinctions? So we all know that birth rate. So they were actually advised the rulers. So need to preserve an ideal social order based on the birthright. Birthright means here especially privileges claimed on account of birth. Privileges claimed on account of birth. For example, people believed that nobles inherited their rights to govern because they were born in certain families. This is what? Birthright. Birthright. So people believed that nobles inherited their rights to govern because they were born in certain families. ಹುಟ್ಟುತ್ತಾನೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳ. They were born in the special families, in that certain families. So the nobles, they are inherited rights to govern. And what about gender distinctions? See, social and biological differences between women and men. So gender distinctions means social and biological differences between women and men. Usually, these differences are used to argue that men are superior to women. So even what we call in the nowadays also so many families and in so many socio-religious communities. So it is there in the present days also. That is about, so men are superior to women. So compared to women, men are superior. So that is what gender distinctions. So their ideas were, I mean, the authors of Tavarik, their ideas were not shared by everyone. So it is only the administrative levels. So in 1236, Sultan Iltutmish's daughter Razia became Sultan. See that. So actually, which I mean the scholars, the Tawaric authors, what they were opposed, especially in a Islam tradition, and where they were believed men are superior than women. Men are superior than women. So now what happened? So Razia became Sultan of Delhi. Razia became Sultan of Delhi in 1236. When she was became a Sultan of Delhi, just you can imagine now what were the conditions of the traditionalists. See here, the chronicler of the age, Minhaj Siraz, recognized that she was more able and qualified than all her brothers. Than all her brothers. So in the same age, the chronicler, so Minhaj Siraz recognized Razia as one of the more able and qualified than all her brothers. So compared to her brothers, she was more able and she was more qualified to become a head of the administrator. See, but he was not comfortable at having a queen as a ruler. So Minhaj Siraz, of course, he was recognized. Razia, she was more able and qualified than all her brothers. But he was not comfortable at having a queen as a ruler. He was not comfort. So now were the nobles happy at her attempts to rule independently. So even so the chronicler Minhaj Siraz he was not happy about this. To see ruler, a queen as a ruler. Then what about the nobles and other king family members? Whether they were happy? No. So that's what dear students, even she was more able and more qualified, even though Razia, she was removed from the throne in 1214. Razia, so 1214 ನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಂಹಾಸನದಿಂದ ಕೆಳಗಿಳಿಸಿದರು. They were removed from the power. They were removed from the throne in 1240. Then you can understand, dear students, so how the traditionalist and even the noble class people, how they were maintained the gender distinctions. So they were believed that so men are more superior than women when after the Iltutmish, when Razia Sultan, when she was came to power in 1236, of course even the chronicler Minhaj Siraz recognized her as she was one of the more able and qualified compared to all other brothers. But he was not comfortable at having a queen as a ruler. And even what about the noble class family, the others? So they were not at all support. They were not at all happy with this event. And finally, Razia, she was removed from the throne in 1240 years. So this was one example how the women, even in the upper class of the society, even in the king's family, they were treated and completely the rights, especially the political rights, were denied for the women and the practice of social distinctions in Islam society. Of course, not only in the Islam, so even almost all day students, even till today, we can see that the gender discrimination, the stereotype. Understood. Now let us discuss about garrison town to empire. How the expansion of the Delhi Sultan. How the expansion of the Delhi Sultanate from garrison town to empire. ಹೇಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ದೆಹಲಿ ಸಾಮ್ರಾಜ್ಯ ಸುಲ್ತಾನರು ತಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಸಾಮ್ರಾಜ್ಯವನ್ನು ವಿಸ್ತರಣೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನೋಡೋಣ. See, in the early 13th century, the control of the Delhi Sultans rarely went behind heavily fortified towns occupied by garrisons. Understood now? So, during early 13th century, early 13th century. So what happened during this time? See, the control of the Delhi Sultans rarely went behind heavily fortified towns occupied by the garrisons. What is the meaning of garrison? Garrison town. So another ಏನಾಗಿದ್ರೆ garrison towns ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ. So garrison towns means a fortified settlement with soldiers. Garrison town means what now? A fortified settlement. Okay, so a fortified settlement with soldiers. This is known as garrison towns, a fortified settlement with soldiers. See here, the sultans seldom controlled the hinterland of the cities and were therefore dependent upon trade and tribute or plunder for supplies. So the sultans seldom controlled the hinterland. So hinterland means what is meant by hinterland? So the land adjacent, to a city, of four. Understood now? To a city of four. Getting now? So that supply it with goods and services. For that a city, I mean the land adjacent to a city, a port that supply it with goods and services. So that area is to call as a hinterland, the land adjacent to a city or port that supply it with goods and services. So here, actually these hinterlands are controlled by the Delhi Sultans because it's dependent upon trade, tribute and plunder of supplies also. See, controlling garrison towns in distant Bengal and Sindh from Delhi, it was extremely difficult. ಸೊ ಬಹಳ ದೂರದಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಈ ಗ್ಯಾರಿಸನ್ ಟೌನ್ಸ್ಗಳಾದಂತಹ ಬೆಂಗಾಲ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸಿಂಧ್ ಅನ್ನ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿಯಿಂದ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಟೂ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಟೂ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲಿಂಗ್ ಗ್ಯಾರಿಸನ್ ಟೌನ್ಸ್ in distant Bengal, it's so far, and even the Sindh also, it is also so far from the Delhi. So controlling from Delhi, it was became extremely difficult. So rebellion, war, even bad weather could snap fragile communication routes. Sometimes the weather, sometimes the rebellions and the war. So all these so and so things could snap fragile communication routes, completely disturb the communication routes. So Delhi's authority was also challenged by Mongol invasions from Afghanistan. See, during that time, so again, so it was a challenge for the Delhi Sultans from the Mongolians, from Afghanistan, and by governors who rebelled at any sign of the Sultan's weakness. So in any time, they are going to get the advantage, they are going to get the advantage of this situation, because if any sign of the Sultan's weakness, so they were invited to get the profit of this situation. It was a challenge to the Delhi authority, because now, because of Mongol invasions from Afghanistan, and by even the governors who rebelled at any sign of the Sultan's weakness. ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಾಂತೀಯ ಗವರ್ನರ್ಗಳು ಸಹ ಕಾಯ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. So the Sultanate barely survived these challenges. The Sultanate barely survived these challenges. Its expansion occurred during the reigns of Ghiyasuddin Balban. After that, what happened? Its expansion occurred. So during the reigns of Ghiyasuddin Balban, Alauddin Khilji, and Muhammad Tughlaq. Understood? So the first set of campaigns along the internal frontier, the first set of the campaigns along the internal frontier of the Sultanate aimed at consolidating the hinterlands and the garrison towns. So this is what the first set of campaigns along the internal frontier. So that is about the aim of that. So consolidating the hinterlands of the garrison towns. See, during these campaigns, forests were cleared in the Ganga, Yamuna, Dohab. So in these campaigns, during these campaigns, so the forests were cleared in the Ganga, Yamuna, Dohab. Dohab means between the areas between the two rivers, Ganga and Yamuna. And hunter-gatherers and pastoralists expelled from their habitat. They were expelled because they were cleared the forest. So because of that, those who are settled, the inhabitant of that respective area, the hunter, gatherers, and pastoralists, so they were expelled from their habitat. See, these lands were given to peasants and agriculture was encouraged. So after occupying this Doha, the Ganga Yamuna Doha, so after clearing the forest, so those lands were given to peasants and agriculture was encouraged. So new fortresses and towns were established to protect trade routes and to promote regional trade. See, to protect trade routes and to promote the regional trade, so the new fortresses and towns were established by Delhi Sultanate. And the second expansion occurred along external frontier of the Sultanate. So military expeditions into southern India started during the reign of Alauddin Khilji and culminated with Muhammad Tughlaq. So in their campaigns, Sultanate armies captured elephants, horses, and slaves and carried away precious metals also. In the second expansion, understood now. So by the end of the Muhammad Tughlaq's reign, 150 years after somewhat humble beginnings, the armies of the Delhi Sultanate had marched across a large part of the subcontinent of the reign of Muhammad Tughlaq. Okay. And they had defeated rival armies and seized cities. The Sultanate collected taxes from the peasantry and dispensed justice in its reign. But how complete and effective was its control over such a vast territory? Because it's too difficult to control such a vast territory. Understood now? So, the next class we are going to discuss about the administration and consolidation under the Khaljis and Tughlaqs. Thank you. Have a nice day.